This is the most familiar sight on Earth, and it is hiding almost everything we don't know about our own planet. We have mapped Mars and the Moon in detail, yet more than 80% of our own ocean has never been seen by human eyes. The water doesn't end for kilometers, and the deeper you go, the stranger and darker it becomes. So today, we descend, all the way down to the deepest point on the planet. The ocean is built in 5 layers, stacked on top of each other, each one less like home than the last. If you dropped Mount Everest into the deepest trench, its peak would still be over 2 kilometers underwater. And with every meter we sink, the pressure builds, the light fades, and the rules of life themselves begin to break down.
Welcome to the most alien place on Earth.
We begin our journey in the sunlight zone, a vibrant world soon left behind as we plunge into the deep. Take a breath. Once we pass this point, there is no turning back until we reach the bottom of the world.
The first layer is the only one you'd recognize, the sunlight zone, home to nearly every ocean creature you've ever seen.
Here sunlight still powers everything. Plants grow, coral builds, predators hunt in the light, just as life does on land. Even the largest fish in the sea, the whale shark, stays up here, where food is rich and warm. But this bright, busy world is just a thin skin on the ocean. It is only 5% of its total depth. At 200 meters, the warmth fades, the colors drain away, and the familiar ocean simply ends. Red light vanishes first, then orange, then yellow. The world is being painted out, one color at a time. From here down, almost no one has followed. We are leaving the known ocean behind. This is the Twilight Zone, where only a ghostly blue glimmer survives, and the sun will never fully reach again. The animals here are built for the dark, with enormous eyes straining to catch the last few photons from above. Some, like the barrel eye, have transparent heads, looking up through their own skulls to spot prey overhead. And down here, life solved the darkness in a breathtaking way. It learned to make its own light. Most deep-sea creatures glow. They use light to hunt, to hide, to find a mate, and to lure prey into their jaws.
Some squid flash dazzling patterns across their skin, a silent language of light we are only beginning to understand.
Every single night, billions of these animals rise toward the surface to feed. It is the largest migration on Earth, hidden in the dark, and before dawn, they sink back down into the gloom, hiding from the light, repeating a rhythm older than humanity. Here drift siphonophores, glowing chains longer than a blue whale, made of thousands of tiny bodies acting as one.
But as we pass 1,000 meters, even that faint glimmer dies completely. Now we enter the true darkness. From this depth all the way to the bottom, there is no sunlight at all. Ever.
Welcome to the Midnight Zone. The only food here drifts down from above, a constant fall of dead matter called marine snow. And here lives the nightmare of the deep, the anglerfish, dangling a glowing lure to draw victims into a mouthful of fangs. The males are tiny, and to survive, they bite onto a female and fuse into her body forever, becoming little more than a part of her. Food is so rare that the gulper eel evolved a mouth larger than its whole body, to swallow anything it can find. The vampire squid drifts like a phantom, living where there is almost no oxygen, feeding only on the marine snow that falls past it. The dragonfish hunts with red light its prey cannot see, a built-in night vision spotlight in a world of total black. And ancient hunters still cruise here, like the frilled shark, a living fossil almost unchanged for tens of millions of years. On the bottom, giant isopods, relatives of the woodlouse but the size of a cat, scavenge whatever death sends down. Sometimes, a feast arrives. When a whale dies, its body sinks into the dark and becomes an oasis of life. A single whale fall can feed an entire ecosystem for decades, in a place where food almost never comes. But there's an invisible killer here. The weight of the water above now presses down with hundreds of times the pressure at the surface. An unprotected human body would be crushed in an instant. Even our strongest machines strain and groan against it. So the survivors are soft and full of water. With no air spaces to crush, the many deep fish are little more than soft jelly and watery flesh, a body shaped entirely by the pressure that would destroy us. We are now deeper than almost any submarine can go. And astonishingly, we are not even halfway to the bottom. The dark here is absolute. No glow above, no floor below. Just the cold, the pressure, and the silence.
As we descend past 4,000 meters, the true nature of the abyss reveals itself.
We reach the abyss, a silent plain of mud stretching for thousands of kilometers, the largest single habitat on the entire planet. Life here is sparse and strange. The tripod fish stands on stilts in the current, facing the flow.
The Dumbo octopus flaps its ear-like fins like a slow-motion bird, the deepest living octopus ever found.
Herds of strange creatures called sea pigs vacuum the mud for scraps, the unlikely caretakers of the deepest plains. Some of the largest single cells on Earth live here. Fragile giants made of just one cell, the size of your hand. And then, in the deepest dark, we find something impossible. Heat. These are hydrothermal vents, chimneys of superheated, mineral-rich water erupting from cracks in the seafloor.
And around them thrives an entire world, giant tube worms and pale crabs, living with no sunlight at all.
Many scientists now believe that life on Earth may have begun in places exactly like this. And if life can begin here, it might also stir in the hidden oceans beneath the frozen moons of other worlds. But these warm oases are rare islands. Beyond them, the abyss returns to cold, dark, and endless emptiness. And ahead lies the very edge of the abyss, where the seafloor suddenly drops away into the deepest scars on Earth. These are the trenches, and one of them plunges deeper than anywhere else on the planet. Descending past 6,000 meters into the deepest trenches on Earth. This is the Hadal zone. The deepest of all is the Mariana Trench, a crack in the seafloor longer than the Grand Canyon and far, far deeper. And at its very bottom lies the Challenger Deep, nearly 11 kilometers straight down, the deepest point on Earth. We are now deeper than any shark, deeper than almost any fish can survive. Below this point, a backbone can barely hold together.
The deepest fish ever filmed is the ghostly snailfish, soft and almost transparent, perfectly built for crushing depths. Its cells are packed with a special molecule that fights the pressure from within. Below a certain depth, even that is not enough, and fish simply cannot exist.
But scavengers thrive even here. Swarms of pale, shrimp-like amphipods devour anything that falls into the trench. The pressure here is over 1,000 times the surface, like balancing 50 jumbo jets on your body. It would crush you in a heartbeat. In 1960, 2 men became the first to reach this bottom. They spent only 20 minutes there before the silt swallowed their view. Then, for 52 years, no human returned.
Then in 2012, filmmaker made the first solo descent, sinking alone for hours into the deepest dark on Earth. And in 2019, explorer dived deeper still, the first to visit the bottom of all 5 oceans on Earth.
And at the deepest point on Earth, almost untouched by humans, he found something heartbreaking already waiting. A plastic bag. Tests found plastic inside the tiny creatures of the trench itself. Our pollution has reached the most remote place on the planet. But here we are, after 11 kilometers of darkness, as the light finally finds the floor of the world. The Challenger Deep. The single deepest point on the entire planet. There is no light, no warmth, no sound but your own machine. This is the loneliest place a human can be. Above you now stands 11 kilometers of water, more than the height at which jet airline hunt. And still, even here, life refuses to surrender. A pale fish drifts past. We have reached the bottom, but our journey has revealed something stranger than the depth itself. How little of this we actually understand. Below 4,000 meters, light cannot penetrate, but life finds a way. And some mysteries prefer the dark. Because for all we've seen, we've explored almost none of it. So what else could be hiding in the dark? We only filmed a living giant squid for the very first time in 2004. For all of history before that, it was dismissed as a sailor's myth. Its cousin, the colossal squid, has eyes the size of dinner plates, the largest of any animal that has ever lived.
In 1997, microphones picked up a sound from the deep so loud and strange that years later it was traced to giant ice quakes, not a monster. But it proved a point. The ocean is full of voices we cannot yet name.
Scientists discover hundreds, sometimes thousands, of new deep-sea species every single year. The deep, and most of those species have never been seen alive, only as fragments hauled up in nets, ghosts we are still trying to identify. There are entire mountain ranges and canyons down here that no human or machine has ever visited. And somewhere in that darkness, there are almost certainly creatures alive right now that no human eye has ever seen. Some may be small and gentle, others may be larger than anything we've ever pulled from the sea. We simply do not know.
That is the thrill and the fear of the deep. It is the last place 80% unknown. How little we know. For decades, more people had walked on the surface of the moon than had ever reached the bottom of the ocean.
We have detailed maps of Mars, the moon, and Venus. Yet most of our own seafloor remains a complete blank. Mapping the deep is brutally slow. A ship must crawl back and forth for years to chart even a small patch of ocean floor. The pressure that crushes our machines, the cold, the total darkness, all of it makes the deep harder to reach than outer space. It is also expensive and far less glamorous than the stars. So the greatest frontier on Earth stays mostly ignored. And yet, the deep shapes everything. It stores our carbon, drives our climate, and holds clues to the very origin of life. Its creatures may hold new medicines, new materials, answers we don't even know to look for yet. But we are already harming it, with deep trawling and mining, destroying ecosystems we have never even seen. We risk erasing entire worlds before we ever know they existed. You cannot protect what you have never bothered to look at. So as we finally rise back toward the light, carry this with you. The deep is not Earth. This alien world is not on another planet. It is here, on ours.
The same planet that gives us blue skies and warm beaches hides a cold, crushing, eternal night, full of glowing, impossible life.
We know more about the surface of the moon than the deepest parts of our own home, and that should fill us with wonder, not fear.
The greatest adventure left on Earth isn't far away in the stars. It's down here.
Every creature we met today survives in conditions that would destroy us. Life is far more stubborn and far stranger than we imagine, and it is all hidden, right now, under that calm and ordinary surface you thought you knew.
The next time you stand at the shore, look out at the water and remember what is sleeping in the dark beneath it.
An entire universe of life, pressure, and mystery, separated from your world by nothing but a thin blue line.
We call this the blue planet. But the truth is, we live on the surface of a world we have barely begun to explore.
The story of our planet is mostly written underwater, and we have barely read the first page. There is still a whole world down there, in the dark,
waiting for someone curious enough to go and find it. You didn't stay this long for the numbers. You stayed for the unknown. Subscribe and stay curious, because the deep is still keeping its secrets.